Here's what's on your feed today. The Supreme Court denies Senator De La Rosa's bid for a TRO to block his arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court. The families of missing Sabongeros are turning to NAPOLCOM after claims of cash offers to skip hearings. Cayetano allies continue to take key Senate posts with Senator Pia Cayetano now leading the Blue Ribbon Committee. A rare Ebola strain is spreading fast in Congo with no approved vaccine or treatment yet. And take a look at this. A tourist dies in India after getting caught between two fighting elephants at a river bathing site. Good afternoon, I'm Denise Tan. No relief for Senator Bato de la Rosa as the Supreme Court denied his request for a temporary restraining order against the ICC arrest warrant. Let's get more details from Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos. Arles, why was the request for the TRO denied? Ano yung legal basis na ginamit dyan?
Denise, tama nga no, sa botong 951 ay binasura ng Korte Suprema ang hiling na temporary restraining order ni Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa kasunod yan ng isinagawang special session kaninang umaga. Yan yung sa kahilingan nga ni Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa na pigilan ang anumang paghuli sa kanya. No? Yan yung tinatawag nating TRO or yung status quo ante-order upang pigilan nga yung kahit anumang pag-aresto mula yan sa DILG, Philippine National Police, maging sa National Bureau of Investigation, Bureau of Immigration, Armed Forces of the Philippines, at maging ng CIDG no, sa utos mismo ng International Criminal Court at ng syempre yung red notice o yung diffusion mula sa Interpol o anumang foreign judicial o quasi-judicial na kautusan ng walang warrant o korte utos ng mula dito sa Pilipinas. No? Denise, yung basehan dito dahil nagpapatuloy pa nga yung pag-upo ng mga huwes no, ng Supreme Court para desisyonan yung kanyang temporary restraining order. Hindi pa nito dinidesisyonan yung kabuuan na request ni Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa na pigilan nga yung kanyang pagka-aresto at pagkuha sa kanya ng International Criminal Court. Kaya sa ngayon, nananatili nga na malaya pa siya pero anytime abangan natin kung siya nga ay huhulihin na.
Okay, so klaruhin lang natin, Arles, with the TRO now denied, does this clear the way for any authorities to possibly move against De La Rosa? What kind of effect would these have on those law enforcement agencies? Pwede na ba siyang hulihin, damputin at any time?
Well, Denise, at least ayon sa palasyo, no, itong desisyon na ito ng Korte Suprema ay nagpapakita nga no, na valid yung warrant of arrest mula sa International Criminal Court. Pero anuman daw na interpretation or resolution at maaaring findings ng Korte Suprema patungkol sa TRO ay idudulog nga sa Department of Justice para maaksyonan at matukoy kung ano nga yung kanilang gagawin kay Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. Sa puntong ito, Denise, ay wala pang kumpirmadong desisyon kung aarestuhin na nga ba agad si De La Rosa pero kinumpirma naman ng DOJ at ng NBI na meron nga silang tracking team para tuntunin ang kinaroroonan ni De La Rosa.
Arles, balikan lang natin on the report. I believe that was yesterday, if not 2 days ago, that there was a possible lead in the whereabouts of Senator Bato de la Rosa. Meron bang any indication right now that they will be making a move or possibly an operation for him?
Sa ngayon, Denise, wala pa tayong kumpirmadong mga galaw no, o gagawing paghuli ng anumang ahensya ng ating pamahalaan no, or law enforcement agencies kaugnay dito kay Senator Bato de la Rosa. At atin pa rin yan naaabangan. No? Pero ito nga, ayon sa palasyo mismo, ibig sabihin ito valid talaga yung arrest warrant na inilabas ng International Criminal Court o ng ICC na actually noong November pa 2025 ay silyado na ito. Hanggang ito nga ay nabuksan itong nakaraang linggo ng dalhin mismo ito ng National Bureau of Investigation at ni dating Senador Antonio Trillanes sa mismong vicinity at doon sa Legacy Hall ng Senado.
Arles, yung paulit-ulit na ipinapaglaban ng kampo ni De La Rosa ay dapat daw may local arrest warrant, dapat daw through Philippine courts. Ngayon ba may sinabi sila pagkatapos ilabas itong denial ng TRO?
Para sa kanila, Denise, hindi pa raw tapos ang laban. Nandun nga mismo sa statement ng abogado ni De La Rosa na si Attorney Israelito Torion na wag daw mawala na ng pag-asa. No? Mayroon pa daw mga issue na tatalakayin ng Korte Suprema at hindi pa ito talaga yung tumutukoy ng kahihinatnan ng senador. No? Pero mag-file sila ng motion for reconsideration sa Korte Suprema at sa hiling nga no, na ito ay masilip pa din dahil ginigit nila na hindi maaaring hulihin basta-basta, higit lalo yung pagsuko nga umano ng kalayaan ng isang Pilipino sa isang foreign entity no, na ginigiit nila na itong International Criminal Court nga ay walang jurisdiction sa Pilipinas. Pero sa ating legal records, bago po kumalas ang Pilipinas sa International Criminal Court, ay nangyari yung mga pag-file ng kaso kay De La Rosa at syempre later on nga yung investigasyon noong tayo ay miyembro pa nito. No? Kaugnayan ng madugong war on drugs ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte kung saan iniuugnay mismo si De La Rosa na dating PNP chief no, sa pagkamatay ng nasa 32 individual.
Arles, there have been several conflicting reports online as well as interpretations from past justices. Sabi nila, hindi daw fugitive itong si Senator Bato de la Rosa but he can be under arrest. Ano bang pagkakaiba nung dalawang definition na yan? Para klaro.
At least doon, Denise, sa fugitive on the previous coverages that we did patungkol dito sa mga inaaresto at mga may kaso sa kanila. No? Fugitive, kapag ikaw nga ay nagtatago o umiiwas sa batas, maglalabas ng order ang isang korte at sasabihin nga na ikaw ay nagtatago sa batas at hindi mo kinikilala yung anuman na nag-uutos sa iyo na ikaw ay maaresto o mapunta sa kustodiya ng otoridad. Well, at least naman sa part ni Senator Bato de la Rosa, at least ang International Criminal Court na mismo ang nagsabi na siya ay kasama sa wanted list nito. Hindi pa naman proclaim formally na fugitive ito dahil may ilan pang mga legal remedies na nais ngang subukan at gamitin ang kampo ni De La Rosa hanggang malaman natin kung mahuhuli na nga ba talaga siya ng International Criminal Court at ililipad patungo doon sa The Hague sa the Netherlands.
Lastly na lang, Arles, no? Tama ba? Is it right to say na as of now, kumbaga pwede pa rin siyang mag-participate dun sa mga proceedings, if ever, na malaman natin o magpakita si Senator De La Rosa?
Well, at least patungkol doon sa impeachment trial, Denise, no? Ayon mismo sa rules ng Senado ay kailangan personal na humarap itong si De La Rosa. Maaari niya pa rin gawin yan, pero baka magkagulatan. If you remember nung Monday, last Monday, no, nung nagkahabulan nga doon sa far exit ng Senado, papasok ng plenaryo na may nag-aabang na NBI doon. No? Pero at least patungkol dito sa impeachment trial, Denise, kung nanaisin man na dumalo dito ni De La Rosa, kailangan humarap siya mismo sa Senado at manumpa bilang senator judge. Hindi rin admissible sa impeachment trial yung video conferencing. Bagaman ginagamit na ito ng ating mga lokal na hukuman, kailangan pa rin kasi na magtanong siya, busisiin niya yung mga ebidensya na ilalatag laban sa Vice Presidente at kabukod dyan syempre no, malaman kung ano nga ba yung magiging basehan ng kanyang boto kung gumulong man ang trial at hindi pa siya madadakip at dadalhin sa The Hague para nga malaman talaga syempre yung impartiality pa rin nila. No? Kasi at the end of the day, bagaman meron daw ayon sa mga legal expert na mga bagay na ikukonsidera ang ating mga senator judges sa pagboto sa impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte, at the end of the day, they are local elected officials ng taong bayan at babantayan natin ng publiko kung ano nga ba yung kanilang magiging action dito. Denise.
All right, thank you for those updates. That was Mobile Journal, Arles de los Santos. Meanwhile, the upper chamber's revamp continues following last week's leadership shakeup that installed Alan Peter Cayetano as Senate President. Senator Pia Cayetano will now head the Blue Ribbon Committee while Senator Amy Marcos takes over Foreign Relations. Senator Camille Villar has been named chairperson of both the Environment Committee and the Committee on Government-Owned and Controlled Corporations or GOCCS. Meanwhile, Senator Robin Padilla will lead the Committee on Constitutional Amendments, while Senator Rodante Marcoleta has been tasked to head the Committee on Justice and Human Rights. Initial committee posts were earlier announced while others remain vacant as the Senate reorganization continues under Cayetano's leadership. In other news, the Office of the Vice President has received the summons issued by the Senate Impeachment Court. The OVP confirmed receipt at around 10:40 this morning of the document, which is directing response from its chief, Sara Duterte. The Vice President has been asked to comment on the articles of impeachment against her within a non-extendable period of 10 days. Earlier, Duterte's defense team gave its commitment to comply with the summons and vowed to present the VP to the court as needed. More on your One News feed when we return. Keep it here. You're still watching One News feed. Welcome back. Now, some families of missing Sabongeros have sought NAPOLCOM's help amid claims of cash offers to keep them from attending hearings. For the details, we have mobile journal Jazz Paredes. Okay, Jazz, who is allegedly offering money to some families of missing Sabongeros?
Yes, Denise, no, mula doon sa napag-usapan kanina sa press briefing sa NAPOLCOM, no, ang kanilang sinabi na pangalan nitong abogado na nag-o-offer sa kanila ng pera bilang tulong daw na pinansyal ay si Attorney Caroline Cruz, no, na ang pagkakaalam natin ay legal counsel ni Atong Ang. At ang sabi nga sa kanila ay hindi man daw direktang sinabi na huwag umattend doon sa mga hearing, pero ang pinapalabas daw ay pupunta or makipag-usap doon sa mga security guards, mga personnel na nadawit doon sa kaso nga ng missing Sabongeros at pakinggan nga yung kanilang panig para mabago yung kanilang pananaw or yung kanilang nalalaman tungkol doon sa kaso, no, na kanila sila daw ay inosente. At bukod pa dyan, yung tulong pinansyal daw na ibibigay nitong attorney ay bibigay ng buwan-buwan 40,000. So, quincenas yan, 20,000 kada 15 at 30. At hindi daw yan, kumbaga ay ang sinasabi nila tulong pinansyal daw yan dahil nga doon sa kanilang mga nagagastos sa pamasahe kapag dumadalo nila sa mga hearing. Denise.
Okay, Jazz. So, ilang mga pamilya na yung kumbaga ay hindi na umaattend dun sa mga hearing, ilan ang nagsasabi na nakatanggap sila ng cash offers at tama ba na nag-file din ng complaints itong families of the missing Sabongeros against 2 PNP personnel? Ano ba yung mga complaints na yan?
Yes, Denise, tama ka, no? So, ang nakuha natin kanina ay yun ngang dalawang personnel na ito ng kapulisan ay tumulong daw mag-facilitate nitong sinasabi nga natin na kakausapin yung mga personnel na involved doon sa missing Sabongeros na nandun yan sa custodial facility sa Camp Crame. At itong isinampang kaso ay complaint doon nga sa dalawang kapulisan dahil nga tumulong sila para ma-facilitate itong meeting at bukod dito yung sa kanilang cash na nakuha yun nga 40,000. So ang nangyari ay mula 35, ito ay mula sa Batangas at Santa Cruz lamang, no, 35 complainants. At itong mga nakita natin sa NAPOLCOM kanina, 5 na lang silang natira. Sa Santa Cruz, Laguna naman daw, from 19 na complainants na regular na umaattend sa hearing, ay 3 na lamang daw silang natira. So makikita natin, Denise, napakalaki nung difference nung mga nagsimulang umattend sa hearing sa mga natira ngayon, Denise.
Okay, and what did NAPOLCOM or the PNP say about the complaints? Have they acted on it? At itong dalawang PNP personnel, are they still in active service?
Yes, Denise, no, yan din yung itanong natin kanina sa NAPOLCOM kanina, sa PNP at kay Attorney Kalinisan. At ayon sa kanila, ay bibisitahin pa lamang nila itong complaint na na-receive nila dahil the moment na nagpa-press briefing ay saka lang mang daw nila na-receive itong complaint. So kailangan pa daw nila itong i-review at i-check kung ano ba itong kaso na sinasampangan nitong mga complainant o yung mga pamilya ng missing Sabongeros. Pero sa ngayon daw, no, tinitignan nila yung anggulo na pwedeng kasuhan ng administrative cases itong mga pulis kung mapatunayan nga raw na tumulong sila sa pag-facilitate nitong pag-aareglo daw nitong abogado sa pamilya ng mga missing Sabongeros. Pero sa ngayon, they're still visiting the case daw at hindi pa daw sila makapagsabi ng kung ano ba talaga yung magiging hatol kung sakaling ang mga pulis nito ay maharap sa kaso. Denise.
And as we speak, are there any leads on the whereabouts of Atong Ang? And meron bang na-identify na bagong persons of interest sa kasong to?
Yes, Denise, no. Sa ngayon, sa press briefing kanina, hindi nabanggit kung meron ba tayong bagong leads regarding Atong Ang at sa kanyang whereabouts, no. Pero ang sabi sa atin kanina ay patuloy naman daw yung kanilang efforts para malocate itong si Atong Ang. Denise.
Thank you very much. Again, that was Mobile Journal Jazz Paredes. Now, authorities have flagged a steel plant in Misamis Oriental as a national security concern. This comes following a multi-agency raid that led to the arrest of 70 workers, mostly Chinese nationals. Mobile Journal Jazz Paredes is back with this report.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines has described a steel plant in Tagoloan, Misamis Oriental as a potential threat to the country's infrastructure and national security. 69 Chinese nationals and 1 Filipino were arrested during a joint operation carried out by the NBI, AFP, PNRI, PCG, PNP, PAF, and PAOK, following the service of a search warrant against Philippines Sanjia Steel Corporation. The company, registered in 2018 inside the Pivotec Industrial Estate in Tagoloan, began operations in 2020, producing steel billets, reinforcing bars, and other steel products. But authorities say the facility was found to have alleged violations involving hazardous materials, labor standards, immigration regulations, and consumer protection laws.
Operations na naganap nitong May 16 resulted dito sa detention ng around 69 allegedly undocumented Chinese nationals. They were found that they were working in the said property, and the identification of suspected substandard steel output that could endanger public infrastructure dito sa ating bansa.
Those arrested may face charges for violations of the Philippine Nuclear Energy and Safety Act, the Labor Code of the Philippines, immigration laws, and the Consumer Act. It was also revealed that nearly 1 million metric tons of steel rebar are currently stockpiled inside the company's warehouses, with inventories continuing to increase. Officials warn this could pose serious health, environmental, and security risks.
The handling of hazardous materials, lalong-lalo na po dito sa ating mga workers dyan sa area. Meron din itong close proximity to a Philippine Navy dry dock that is being constructed over a 300-hectare portion dito po sa PVDEC compound. And so this raises a national security risk as well as an environmental concern.
Padilla emphasized that the alleged circulation of substandard steel products could compromise the safety of buildings and other critical structures across the country. The NBI is now conducting backtracking operations to identify companies and projects that may have purchased the firm's steel products since it started operating. Authorities are also investigating its possible links to the United Front Works operations.
This could be another similar activity which we are trying to check if this is part of foreign interference, malign influence operations. Considering that Chinese nationals were involved, Filipinos were part of the labor force, and this could be part of the United Front Works, for all we know. That's what we are checking as of now.
The company has also been linked to Tony Yang, brother of Michael Yang, former economic advisor to former President Rodrigo Duterte. Meanwhile, an Octa research survey revealed that 7 out of 10 Filipinos continue to trust and are satisfied with the performance of the AFP. Its tugon ng masa survey conducted from March 19 to 25 showed that 72% of adult Filipinos trust the AFP while only 11% responded to distrust.
Ang magandang i-highlight din dito, 100% ng adult Filipinos are aware of the presence of the AFP. And ang mataas po na suporta na binibigay ng ating mga kababayan is for the modernization of the armed forces of the Philippines. So these are really very good numbers for us, and hindi namin sisirain ang tiwala na ibinigay ng taong bayan.
Kapatid Jazz Paredes, we are One News.
Health officials are racing to contain a fast-spreading Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The World Health Organization says more than 500 suspected cases and 130 deaths have been recorded. The outbreak involves the rare Bundibujo strain with no approved vaccine or treatment yet available. WHO officials warn that the virus has spread from Ituri province to other areas, including across the border into Uganda. A WHO representative says any potential vaccine rollout could take at least 2 months.
Erbevo is one of the potential vaccine that is looked for eventually be able to come and bring additional prevention and protection among the communities here. But what I know, it would take 2 months for it to be available.
More stories coming up when One Newsfeed returns. You're still watching One Newsfeed. Welcome back. Now, a new EV hub in Quezon City is putting the spotlight on the growing shift toward electric mobility, featuring fully electric commercial vehicles for businesses and fleet operators. Mobile Journal Ivan Tarinque has the report.
From cargo vans, pickup and light-duty trucks to buses and tractor heads, various fully electric commercial vehicles are now on display at the new Photon EV Hub along A. Bonifacio Avenue in Balintawak, Quezon City. Photon reopened its A. Bonifacio dealership but with a new role, serving as its flagship EV hub dedicated to commercial vehicles. Part of its EV ecosystem are charging stations, spare parts availability, technical support, and after-sales services for fleet operators and businesses. The nearly 2,000 square meter facility features an EV showroom and service area that can accommodate up to 10 to 15 vehicles for maintenance and repairs.
Recently, we've experienced an increase in the growth of acceptance from business owners to they're willing to try and use electric vehicles in their businesses.
The launch also comes as the government continues to push for wider EV adoption in both public and private transport sectors. According to the Department of Energy, the government has increased its target for electric vehicle fleet adoption from 5% to 10% as part of its transition toward electric mobility. Unlike most commercial vehicles that rely on diesel engines, fully electric units could help cut emissions while supporting the country's electric vehicle roadmap.
It will definitely reduce the emissions or improve the environment, particularly because this is particularly kung 100% electric vehicle ka, walang emission yan.
As interest in electric vehicles continue to grow, some businesses are also looking at the potential savings from lower fuel and maintenance costs. Electric vehicles require less maintenance due to few moving parts compared to traditional internal combustion engine vehicles.
It's cleaner for our environment. Two is the cost. Yes, initially maybe an electric vehicle would cost more, but in the long run, you actually get more savings with an electric vehicle compared to an internal combustion engine.
With the opening of this EV hub, electric mobility continues to expand not only for private vehicles, but also into the transportation, logistics, and business sectors that rely on commercial fleets. Kapatid Mobile Journal Ivan Tarinque, we are One News.
And before we go, what was supposed to be a close encounter with elephants turned deadly for a tourist in India. The 33-year-old woman was watching elephants at a river bathing site in southern India's Karnataka state when the two animals suddenly began clashing, trapping her in the middle of the chaos. Authorities said the victim's husband and child managed to escape the incident unharmed. They have since ordered stricter safety rules, including limits on close encounters between tourists and elephants. And that wraps up One Newsfeed, the only feed you need. I'm Denise Tan. Good evening.